Hello everyone, welcome to Mobile Class Academy. This is where we make learning fun and we bring it to the comfort of wherever you are. Irrespective of wherever you are, we are with you to give you the best learning experience. So this is our maths class and we are looking at quadratic equation. But before we start the class, I would like you to get a pen and a jotter and look for a quiet place, to settle down to join this class. And we are going to do everything possible to make the learning process easy so that you have better understanding of the topic. Now we are looking at quadratic equation, and quadratic equation is a form of ax squared plus bx plus c. In a quadratic equation, what we notice is the highest power of x is what? 2. The next power is what? 1. This will have been x raised to power 0. So it will just appear as this: ax squared plus bx plus cx. So the highest power is 2, the next one will be 1, and this one will be 0. But in mathematics, any value raised to power of 0 is 1. Therefore, 1 times c is going to be what? C. That's why whenever you see a quadratic equation, is of this form: ax squared plus bx plus c. So the highest power in quadratic equation, as I said, is 2 followed by 1. This c is called a constant because it has no x value. It has no what? X value. Therefore, it's referred to as what? As constant. As what? As constant. Our b is referred to as the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x, meaning the value in front of what? X, or the value attached to x. B is the coefficient of x, while a, this a, is the coefficient of x squared. Is the coefficient of what? Of x squared. A is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is a constant. Then what is x? What is this x that is here and here? The x is the unknown that need to be what? Find in a quadratic equation. Is the unknown that we are going to solve for, or we are going to find in the quadratic equation. So that is the brief introduction about quadratic equation. Now, when we have quadratic equation, how do we solve quadratic equation? To solve quadratic equation, we have 4 major methods. Number 1 is factorization method. Number 2 is completing the square method. And number 3 is quadratic formula, while the last one is graphical method. So let's see how we use each of this formula to solve quadratic equation. Let's see how we use each of this formula to solve quadratic equation. Number 1 we are going to use is the factorization method. In using factorization method, we have to look at our equation again, and our equation is what? Ax squared plus bx plus c. Let's start with when the value of this a is equals to 1 and the value of a is equal to 1. How do we solve that equation? When we are given equation and we notice that the value of a equals to 1, how do we solve it? Remember, in mathematics, we don't write 1 in front of any alphabet. Take, for instance, if we have 1 times a, it's going to be a, not 1a. Are you with me? If the coefficient of x squared is 1, we are not going to write the 1. Rather, we write it this way: x squared plus bx plus what? Plus c. So is 1, so there's no need to put 1 in front, right? Now, what we are expected to do when we are doing factorization and the value of a is 1, what we are expected to do is to look for 2 values that we can use to replace b, such that when the 2 values are added, it gives us the value of our b. And when the 2 values are multiplied, it gives us the value of our what? C. Let me take that again. I said in factorization method, when the value of our a is 1 and we're given an equation to factorize, what we are expected to do is to look for two values to replace the value of b, such that when the two values are added, it's going to give us b. And when the two values are multiplied, it's going to give us our c. Have that in mind. Let's go to some examples and we use that to explain this scenario better. Let's go to our examples. We use that to what? To explain the scenarios better. Now, look at example 1. Example 1 is factorize this equation. And the equation is this: x raised to power 2 plus 6x plus 5. We are asked to factorize this equation. So how do we do that? How do we factorize? If you have the question on the board, what are we expected to do? We're expected to solve it. And how do we go about it? Now, let's state our solution. Remember, during my explanation, I said when we are given a factorization equation and the coefficient of s squared is 1, we need to look for two values that will replace our b. Remember, this is our a. Our a is 1. Our b is plus 6. And our c is what? Plus 5. If we are to factorize this equation, then we need to replace this plus 6 with two values, such that when the two values are added, it's going to give us plus 6. When the two values are multiplied, it's going to give us plus 5. Are you with me? Now, if that's understood, let's solve our problem. We have x squared plus 6x plus 5. So how do we get the two values that will be used to replace the plus 6? If you don't know where to get it, I would say the best place is to get it is from C. We need two values that when they are added, it gives us plus 6. When multiplied, it gives us plus 5. Now, let's use our C. Anytime we are given that question, we will get the value, the two values from our C. Let's put the value of our C here, which is 5. What are the product of 5, or what and what can go in 5? Let's say 5. Can 5 goes in 5? Yes. How many times? Just 1. Can 1 go in 1? Yes. How many times? Just 1. So let's write them out, 5 and 1. Now, let's do the addition. 5 plus 1, what are we going to get? 6. 5 times 1, what are we going to get? 5. So this is a perfect match for what we have here. Are you with me? Here, our 5 plus 1 will give us 6. 5 times 1 will give us what? 5. So we have the substitute for our plus 6x. Now, let's clear the board and continue with our work. Now, we've gotten the value to replace our plus 6, which are 5 and 1. So what we need to do is to impute the values gotten into this equation. And how do we do that? We have x squared plus 5x plus x. Remember, we don't write 1x. We are just going to write the x. Are you with me? Then plus 5. If we have this equation like this, we've replaced the plus 6 with plus 5x plus x. So what do? We group this equation into 2. We do it this way. We've grouped this equation into 2 brackets. Now we ask ourselves this question: what is the common factor in this first bracket? What is the common factor? The common factor is what? X. So if we take out x, what do we have left in this bracket? We have x plus 5. X times x is going to give us x squared. X times 5 will give us 5x. Now we come to the second bracket. What is a common factor in the second bracket? The common factor is what? Plus 1. Plus what? Plus 1. So if we take out plus 1 from plus x, what do we have? We have x. So plus 1 times x will give us plus x. Remember, we don't write 1x, right? So it's going to give us plus x. Plus 1 times plus 5 is going to give us what? Plus 5. Are we clear up to this point? So we have 2 brackets and we have some values outside. To know that we are on the right track, the value in this first bracket must equal to the value in the second bracket. Are you with me? So it shows we're on the right track by having same value in the bracket. Now, at this point, what we do is we bring out the values outside the bracket. And what do we have outside the bracket? We have x and we have +1. When we have that, we bracket them. Because we have the same value in this bracket, this is bracket 1, this is bracket 2, we have the same value, we just pick one. So we have x plus what? +5. So the factorization of this equation will give us this value. We give us what? This value. And this value, when expanded, will give us this equation. Let's check what we are going to get if we expand that bracket. Let's check. X plus 1, x plus what? +5. What will it give us? X times x will give us what? X squared. X times 5 will give us plus 5x. 1 times x will give us plus x, right? Plus 1 times plus 5 will give us plus 5. We have our x squared plus 5x plus x will give us what? Plus 6x. Then our plus 5. When we check what we have here, after expanding the solution, it gives us the same value as the question. See, we have x squared plus 6x plus 5. We have x squared plus 6x plus 5. That shows the value gotten here are what are correct. So that's how to go about it. Now let's look at example 2. That's example 1. Let's look at example 2. Example 2 wants us to factorize this equation. What is the equation? The equation is x squared minus 12x plus 32. X squared minus 12x plus 32. So what do we do? Solution. Remember what I said earlier on in example 1? If we have this value, what are we expected to do? We are to look for two values that will replace our b. This is our a. Remember the value of our a is 1. And the value of our b is 12. The value of our c is 32. We need to look for two values such that when we add the two values together, it's going to give us minus 12. In example 1, we have plus 6. But in example 2, we have minus 12. When we add the two values, it's going to give us minus 12, right? And when multiplied, it's going to give us plus 32. It's going to give us plus 32. So the next thing is, how do we get the what? The two values. You know, in example 1, I explained that we have to divide this C. We have to look for products, the two products that will make up this C. Now, let's divide our C. We have 32. What and what can divide 32? Let's try 4. Can 4 go here? Yes, 4 can go in 32 and it's going to give us 8, right? So 4 times 8 will give us what? 32. Now we have 4, we have 8. What are we going to do to 4 and 8 to give us minus 12? That means we need to make them minus 4 and minus 8. If we have minus 4 and minus 8, if we add them together, we are going to get minus 12. Is that understood? Now, if we multiply minus 4 and minus 8, it's going to give us what? Plus 32. So we have replacement for our b. What is the replacement? The replacement is what? Minus 4 minus 8. Is that understood? Now, let's clear the board. We have our equation x squared minus 12x plus 32. You know, we have replacement for that, which is minus 4 and minus 8. So we are going to replace minus 12x with minus 4 and minus 8. So we have x squared minus 4x minus 8x and plus 32. At this point, what do? We group this into two different equations. So when we group this equation into two different parts, what is the common factor in bracket 1? The common factor is what? Is x. So if we take x from x squared, we are left with x. If we take x from minus 4x, we are left with minus 4. Then we close the bracket. we come here. What is a common factor in this bracket? The common factor is what? Minus 8. Let's take it out. Minus 8. If we take out minus 8 from minus 8x, we are left with what? X, right? Now, what do we do here? If we divide 32, if we do this, 32 divided by minus 8. 8 goes here 1, 8 goes here 4. Because of this minus, we are going to have minus 4. Because of the minus, we are going to have what? Minus 4. If we divide through by minus 8, what we are left with is what? Minus 4. So let's clear the board. At this point, what do? We group together everything outside the box. We have x and we have minus 8. So we bring it together. X minus 8, the bracket. We have the same value in bracket 1 and bracket 2. So we just pick one. X minus 4. So the factorization of this equation we have here, is going to give us this. So when we are asked to factorize this equation, what we are going to arrive at is what? X minus 8, x minus 4. Therefore, this equation, x squared minus 12x plus 32 will give us x minus 8, x minus 4. Is that understood? Now we can check if we are right by checking our results. Let us expand the result and see if we will arrive at this question or this equation. Now let's do check. What do we have? X minus 8, x minus 4. Now let's expand this. X times x is going to give us x squared. X times 4 is going to give us minus 4x, right? Minus 8 times x is going to give us minus 8x. Then minus 8 multiplied by minus 4 is going to give us what? It's going to give us plus 32. Are we clear? Now, we have our x squared minus 4x minus 8. If we had these two values, minus 4x minus 8 will give us minus 12x. Then 32. When we compare what we have here after the expansion with what we have here, we see that it's the same. Therefore, our solution is correct. The solution we arrive at here is what is correct. Now, let's look at another example. Example 3. And what is the question? The question is, we should factorize this equation. Factorize x squared minus 16x plus 63. This is what we are asked to do. Before we go to solution, remember what we are expected to do. If the value of our a is 1, we are to look for two values that will replace our minus 16, so that when added, it gives us minus 16, and when multiplied, it gives us what? It gives us 63. When multiplied, it gives us 63. Now, solution. What is our question? X squared minus 16x plus 63. Now, we are looking for two values that when added, will give us minus 16. When multiplied, will give us 63. What is that value? To get the value, we have to divide our 63. Now we have our 63 divided by what? Can 3 goes here? 3 goes here, 2. 3 goes in 6, 2. 3 goes in 3, 1. Can 3 goes in 21? Yes, 3 can go. We'll be left with 7. Then 7. Can 7 goes in 7? We'll be left with 1. We have 3, 3, 7. But we are only looking for two values. These are three values, 3, 3, 7. We are only looking for two values. So what do we do? From here? We are going to do 3 times 3, which is 9, right? Then 7. 9 times 7 will give us what? 63. 9 times 7 will give us what? 63. So let's do 9 plus 7. What will it give us? That will give us 16. It will give us what? It's going to give us 16. This 16 here is plus 16, but we are not looking for plus 16. See what we are looking for. What are we looking for? We are looking for negative 16. How do we get negative 16? That means we need to get negative 9 plus negative 7. Negative 9 plus negative 7 will give us what? Negative 16. So replacement for our negative 16 will be what? Negative 9 and negative 7. And guess what? When we multiply, negative 9 and negative 7 is going to give us positive 63. Let's clear the board and continue with our workings. Now we've gotten the values to replace this minus 16, which are 9, negative 9 and negative 7. So we're going to replace our negative 16 with negative 9 and negative 7. So let's do it. X squared minus 9x minus 7x plus 63. You know what we do at this point? We group this equation with what? We group them together. And we come to the first bracket and ask ourselves, what's the common factor? What's the common factor between x squared and minus x? The common factor is what? Is x. So we put the x outside. When we take out x from here, what do we have left? Just x, right? If we take out x from minus 9, what do we have left? 9. Minus 9, right? Now, if we come here and take away minus 7, what do we have? What's the common factor here? Minus 7, right? Minus 7. So if we take out minus 7 from here, we are left with x, right? So what do we have left here? Remember, if we multiply minus 9 and minus 7 is going to give us plus 63. So now if we divide here by minus 7, what are we left with? Minus 9. This is what I mean. Plus 63 divided by minus 7. 7 goes here 1, 7 goes here 9. Because of this minus in front of this 7, you know, the denominator is minus 7. We are left with minus 9. So that's how we arrive at minus 9 here. Are we together? Let's clear the board. So at this point, what do? We bring out the values outside the brackets, and the values outside the bracket are what? X and minus 7. So when we bring them together, we group them in a bracket, right? We have minus 9 and minus 9 here, common, right? So we pick one, x minus 9. X minus what? Minus 9. So the factorization of this question will give us this. X minus 7 in bracket, x minus 9 in bracket. So this is the answer to our question. Now let's check. Are we right, or we need to retrace our step? Let's check. X minus 7 in brackets, x minus 9. So let's open this bracket. And what do we have? If we open the bracket, x times x is what? X squared. X times minus 9 is minus 9x. Minus 7 times x is going to give me what? Minus 7x. Minus 7 times minus 9 will give me plus 63. Now we have our x squared. Minus 9 minus 7 will give me minus 16x plus 63. When we check what we have here and the question we factorize, we see that we have the same values. This shows we got it right. This shows we got it right. So let's take another example before we exit factorization method when the value of our a is 1. Let's take another example. Let's look at example what? Example 4. It says factorize q squared minus q minus 132. Q squared minus q minus 132. If we look at the question, this is slightly different because we've been used to x, but this time around we've changed the value to q. So what do? You know what we've been doing is this. We are looking for two values that when we had, we give us this value. You know, this is minus 1. In math, we don't write 1 when we are multiplying 1 with a letter. So this is minus q. So we're looking for two values that when we add them together, it's going to give us minus 1. And when multiplied, is going to give us negative 132. What are the values? That values is what we are looking for. Now, solution. In the earlier examples, I said for us to get the two values that will give us the value of B. Remember, the value of A is what? 1. Value of A is 1. Value of B here is what? -1. And value of C is what? Is -132. Right? Now, solution. What are the two values that will give us -1 when added and -132 when multiplied? We don't know what the values are. So what do? We divide our C. Our C is 132. Right? 132. What are the values that can go in 132? Let's start. Can 3 go? 3 goes here, 4. Right? Remainder 1. 3 goes in 12, 4. Right? 3 goes in 12, 4. 3 goes in 12, 4. Good. So what do we have that can go? Of course, 4 should be able to go in 44. If 4 goes in 44, what are we left with? We are left with 11. 11 goes in 11, we are left with 1. Now, when we look at 3, 4, and 11, these are 3 values, right? 3. But we are looking for 2 values such that when we add it, it's going to give us -1. Is that understood? So let's do 3 times 4, 12, right? Times 11 will give us what? 132. 12 times 11 will give us 132, right? If we had 12 and 11, what's it going to give us? It's going to give us 23. 23, right? But now let's do -12 plus 11. If we had that, what will it give us? It's going to give us -1. Therefore, to replace this -1, we are going to do -12 and what? And 11. That's the value we are going to use. And guess what? If we have -12 times 11, is going to give us -132. Are you with me? So what we are going to use to substitute -q is what? -12 and 11. Let's clear the board and continue with our workings. So we have q squared minus q minus 132. Remember what we are using to replace this minus q is -12 and 11. So let's continue and impute them. Q squared minus 12q plus 11q minus 132. At this point, what do? We group. If we do our grouping, we ask ourselves this question: what's a common factor between q squared and minus 12q? Of course, the answer is q. So if we take out q from q squared, we are left with q minus 12. So q multiplied by q will give us q squared. Q multiplied by minus 12 will give us minus 12q. Now, what's the common factor here? The common factor here is plus 11. So if we take out plus 11 from here, we are left with q, right? So if we take out plus 11 from minus 132, what do we get? This goes here 1, this goes here 12. We are left with minus 12. So plus 11 times q will give me plus 11q. Plus 11 times minus 12 will give me minus 132. Are we together? So if that is the case, we have q into bracket q minus 12 and plus 11 into q minus 12 bracket, right? So we have this q outside the bracket and we have 11 outside the bracket. So what do? We have our q plus 11 in bracket because we have similar value here and here in first bracket and second bracket. What do? We pick one. So we have q minus what? 12. So this is the answer to this question. But we can check. You know how we check? We check by expanding the value in the brackets. So if we expand this bracket, q times q, q squared. Q multiplied by minus 12, it gives minus 12q, right? 11 times q, it gives what? It gives plus 11q, right? Now, plus 11 times minus 12, it gives minus 132. What do? We add them together. We have our q squared minus 12q plus 11q will give us minus q minus 132. When we compare this with our question, we'll see that everything is, the same. Therefore, this calculation is correct. Should we take one more example before we move to when the value of a is greater than 1? Now, let's look at this question, the next question, carefully. Let's look at example 5. The question says factorize 3x raised to power of 3 minus 27x raised to power of 2 plus 24x. Factorize this. When you look at this, you'll be a bit confused that, wait a minute, in quadratic equation, the highest power of x should always be what? 2. Second degree, right? But now we have it to 3. So how do we solve it? Solving this kind of question is just to make you think outside the box. Is to what? It's just to make you think outside the box. It's the same thing as what we've been doing, but the examiner wants you to think outside the box. So what do? Solution. If we have this kind of question, we look at it. What is a common factor in all these values we have on the board? If we have this kind of question, what the examiner wants us to do is to think outside the box. To think outside the box. Now, if we look at this question critically, we can see that 3 is common. 3 can go here, 3 can go here, 3 can go here, right? X can go here, X can go here, X can go here. Is that understood? Everything that can go, let's put it outside. Like we divide through by 3x. So if we divide through by 3x, what are we going to get? This divided by 3x, this divided by 3x, this divided by 3x. So what are we left with? This, take out 1x from here, so this will become 2x. Then this 3 goes. So we have x squared, right? Now, this x, we take out 1x. So here we are left with 1x. Then 3 goes here 1, 3 goes here 9. So we have 9x. We have minus 9x, right? S goes here, S goes here, right? 3 goes here 1, 3 goes here 8. So we have what? We have plus 8. Is that understood? When we multiply 3x with everything here, we are going to arrive at this equation, which is 3x times 3x raised to power 2 is going to give us what? 3x raised to power 3. Are you with me? 3x times minus 9x is going to give us 27x squared, right? Plus 8 times 3x will give us plus 24x. Just like what we have here. Are you with me? What we've done is we've divided through by 3. And we are left with a quadratic equation. We are left with what? We are left with quadratic equation. So let's continue with our work. So at this point, we ask ourselves, what are the two values that when added we give minus 9, when multiplied we give plus 8? When multiplied we give what? Plus 8. And I said, for you to get that, you have to divide your C. Remember, this is your C, this is your B, and this is your A. So you have to divide your C. So we have 8 here, right? We are looking for two numbers that when added will give us minus 9, and when multiplied will give us plus 8. Now 2 can go here, 4, right? 4 goes here, 1, right? So we have three values. We have 2, 4, and 1. 2 times 4, 8, then 1. So 8 times 1 will give me what? 8. 8 plus 1 will give me what? 9. Is that understood? But I'm not looking for 9. I'm looking for what? minus 9. So what will give me minus 9 is minus 8 and minus 1. So minus 8 plus minus 1 will give me minus 9. So I have the value for my 8. 8 times 1 will give me what? 8. Minus 8 plus minus 1 will give me what? Minus 9. So let's use minus 8 and minus 1 to replace minus 9. Let's clear the board. So we still have our 3x outside. In this bracket we have x squared minus 8x minus x plus what? Plus 8. Everything in brackets, right? Everything. So what do? We group and we group. So we have two brackets. In this bracket, what is a common factor? What is what? A common factor here. We have x squared and minus x, of course, is what? Is x. So if we take out x here, we have x. If we take out x from minus 8, what are we left with? 8, right? So what is a common factor here? Minus 1. Minus 1 times x will give us what? Minus x. Are you with me? So if we take out minus 1 from this x, we are left with x. Now, minus 1 times 8 will give me what? Minus 8. Are you with me? So we have, in this bracket, we have same value as this. But we need to group what is outside. What is outside? We have to group them together. We have x is outside, minus 1 is outside. We have x minus 1. Because we have the same value, so we just pick 1. Are you with me? Then our 3x. So this is the solution, this question. This is the solution to this question. This is the answer to the factorization of this, our question, which is 3x raised to power 3 minus 27x squared plus 24x. So the factorization of this is this. Are you with me? So that is all we will take for the value of a equals 1. When the value of a equals 1, this is the steps and this is the approach we take to solve this kind of problem. Now let's go to when the value of a is what? Is greater than 1. How do we solve that question? Now let's go to that. Let's see how we solve that. I want to say a big thank you to you for staying with me till this time. I really appreciate that. So let's prepare and see how to solve when the value of a is greater than 1. Thank you for your time. See you in the next class. Bye.